Side by side, I can feel it, it burns like fire. Worlds collide, an unstable landscape, side by side, but that's what this man digs. Be it might, and unlikely allegiance, we will fight because that's the best defense. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Glorious death. Our goal, our mission is clear, as we ride against a dark empire. By my soul, may the last thing they hear be the roar of this raging fire. Listen, be the savagery mindset. Not today, we'll let loose and find it. Brutal will define our reaction. Rip out the throat of each one imperfection. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Fear not, my friend, for right is the path. They shall remember glorious death. Glorious. The angels have fallen, my allies are beaten and broken down. I shed not a tear. After all, this is why we are here. A war we were not supposed to win. If I'm to die tonight, I'll kill every demon that stands in my side. Go! You must shake me a fool. I stand on the skeletons of every goal. But if I'm to die, well, this very night, we'll kill every demon that stands in us. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Fear not, my friend, for right is the path. They shall remember glorious death. Make them remember glorious death. Glorious
Boom! Braxcast live once again. I figured I'd go live because I can definitely been neglecting the consistent live streams, and I didn't do last Friday. I was hanging out with some friends, So I figured GDV actually DM'd me on Discord. It's like, it's Rippaverse Day. I'm like, yeah, how could I freaking forget? So 4 years ago is when ISOM #1 launched. So let's just have a little bit of a celebration. I do want to mention at the stage here. So I just posted this episode of Braxcast number 120. I made this mistake about the milestones. We only have this one, the 500 decks sold with the line art book. And I was like kind of thinking all of them because like there's this unlocked key, but you see this unlocked. So if you watch that, I made a little bit of a mistake saying, hey, we hit all of them when we only hit one of them. But honestly, retroactively, it's most likely going to be true since there's 48 days and we're already halfway to the third milestone. So here's the hoping that we can get those other two. But if not, I will definitely update like next week saying, hey, I made a mistake. But it happens in journalism. Yeah, but hopefully you guys had a good 4th of July weekend. I had a okay one. I mean, I was doing some roofing on Friday, and I just didn't do really much of anything on Saturday because of that. And then it was the same thing on Sunday. But yeah, I figure, I mean, we can go through and do like a little, because you can go through, there's like this like cornerstone. We can go through the ISOM 1 campaign. I think we ought to do that. Of what started it all. So the pre-ordered campaign, 42,000 purchasers, $3.7 million. I misremembered as being 2.7, but yeah, it's such a ridiculous amount of money for one campaign to have made. Yes, so it does seem to be. I think, yeah, since I didn't make like a post about this and I'm not sure or streaming at the usual time, that it's, yeah, here we go. That it's like, not too many people are really going to be watching. But like I said, we'll go and do like a retrospective. So we'll go and like remove this, move that from studio, stop the screen, share the screen. Yeah, share the system audio, and it's going to, yes. Honestly, yeah, I'm not going to show that because, like, I know that's true. Because it shares the system audio as well. So, anyways, now we got it added to the stage here. We're going to go and watch this video that was uploaded to Vimeo. Because, like, Vimeo, it's so funny. This was uploaded to Vimeo. But, anyways, let's play this and take a watch.
ISOM issue #1 is the first book released through Rippaverse Publishing, which makes it extremely significant. Though this is ISOM's self-titled book, it also serves as a launching pad for our entire universe. This 96-pager was written by myself, Eric July. The pencil and ink work was done by the great Cliff Richards, and the color work was done by Gabe El Taib, two comic book veterans. This book is part 1 of the ill-advised arc, and it follows Avery Silman, who lives right outside of Flores Park, Texas, the place where he was born and raised. Now, Avery is what is known as an accept, which is what common folk in this area call special people. Years ago, shortly after he got his abilities, Avery decided to become a hero of sorts and adopted the moniker ISOM. But a certain event had him come to the realization that this life wasn't for him. So now he lives on his own ranch outside of the big city. One day, Avery gets a call from his sister Altona. She wants him to visit his old buddy because a family friend that interned at her company, Projexis, has gone missing. That old friend is Darren Fontano, and apparently he has some connection to his family friend. Fontano has much changed since he was kicking it with Avery when they were, wee lads. Now he's a cold-blooded shot caller that isn't afraid to do what it takes to remain in his position as one of the most respected people in the city. This is a man that you do not want to cross. What was supposed to be a simple meetup with an old friend turns into the longest day of Avery's life. He runs into other excepts such as Santuan, Yaira, and the Alpha Court. And some of these altercations take a very violent turn considering his past with one of these characters. You can see why he tries to stay out of the city. Who is this family friend and what is their connection with Darren Fontano? How does this meeting between him and Avery turn out? And does he get the information that Altona needs? How does this impact the psyche of Avery, who went from a hero to a now blue-collar civilian? These are all questions that will be answered in ISOM issue number 1, which you can now.
Emily in the chat, nice to see you. Boop. But yeah, we'll keep watching this and then
Pre-order at Rippaverse.com, along with some other limited edition merchandise items that will give you some more insight on the characters, such as
Earth, a place with such interesting beings. Like many other planets throughout the cosmos, their subjects have needless squabbles. But from those conflicts, I've discovered some creatures that could be of great use to our efforts. I'm not quite ready for the selection, but after many patient years, I feel it is time for more thorough documentation. This city is where we begin.
Okay, so that's it. There's one thing we'll actually go and scrub through. So, we'll go and we'll not take the entire thing. I just need to take one, move it into second one, and let's see if can actually change the. We'll change the screen, share screen. And we'll go for, yep, right here. And yeah, we'll add the stage. So yeah, you guys can like see this as a bigger, but I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but this was something, I forget what his name was, but he was like one of the channels. He was going to basically do what I was, been doing. But he kind of like, I'd say fell off. But this card, Braxwell. This is where we first learned Braxwell's name, was just this little like teaser for the Dokumon cards. And of course, talking about the selection, most likely this is in relation to the Exclave event, which shows that it was probably someone that was planned from the beginning. Very interesting. But yeah, we'll just X out of that. And then we'll go ahead and move this back. And we will remove, stop screen, and then share a screen, and then go to window and share once again. And yeah, so that's the interesting thing. And so we got 3 new decks of Dokemon cards. We just have the names. I go through the names on the Braxcast, and you can always just go through the site here. Add this to the stage. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Woohoo! So it's going to be 30 cards, 33 if we hit the second milestone, which we most likely will. 600 decks for each. So the catch up is 230, but to buy one individually is 85. And Yeah, 85 times 3 is 255, so you're getting like a 30-ish buck discount for buying them all together, which I of course did because I am an insane person. Yeah, of course, the Isom campaign was just absolutely legendary, man. Just legendary. Just like it hit 1 million in that first 24 hours. It became 2.7 million after that fact, and just the amount of hype that there was for this book. And then, of course, it took a while for us to get this. So this book, it fulfilled in October. So it fulfilled a little bit later than they said it was going to by like honestly a couple of weeks, because it was like by the end of summer and it was like very beginning October. So like you think like very end of September, and it fulfilled a couple weeks after that. But it was very understandable of just how much of a demand there was for this book that it took them a while to ship this book. And the first big thing for the Rippaverse, and of course, basically not quite hitting 3 million, but you got over 2 million. 2 million, you got the short box. There's just so much that happened with this campaign. Absolutely ridiculous. But just like the hype surrounding this in terms of once we got the book. We'll go through items, of course. You got cover A. It's like when anyone talks about the Rippaverse, you see this cover A. This is, of course, by Kanan White, but he was turning at the time. Cover B, this is my reading cover for Isom #1 by Cliff Richards. And then cover C is by Cliff Richards as well. Signed for each of these. I got these all signed. The Isom poster, the Ira poster, which was like the most sold poster, which was like indicative that people wanted the Ira's character. This Isom shirt, this Rippaverse shirt, these Dokumon cards, the concept art book. So this is a really solid campaign in terms of like the free covers. Of course, the third one was added. That's the mass print cover. Cover D is the Creators Edition. It features Isom and Santuan, and that was a very limited one. You might still be able to get some if you become like a Ultra member, which I did. It was initially 100. They lowered it to 50, which is like keep it at 50. And you get basically the fourth cover of Isom. And I do have that cover. I have a graded copy of that cover. I don't think I have one signed and graded. I'm not sure if it's Bruce, but someone has that as a signed and graded copy, signed by Gabe El-Taib. Of course, Gabe El-Taib was the initial colorist for Isom #1. I believe he was for Isom #2 as well. And then Isom #3 was replaced by, was it Sabat? Oh man. Let's see. Now it's killing me. Got someone in the chat, but I will acknowledge that person when I have this burning question answered to me. And who colored Isom #3? There we go. Of course, yeah, Sebastian Chang. I've got, this thick boy right here. And I've got this just massive. And again, it took a while for us to get the amount of content that we have. And honestly, I got another short box just for my like extra copies. But I'm gonna be at the point where I'll need like another short box just for the reading copies, like of the books that I've read, because it's almost full, man. And that's something to think about. That is definitely something. But we got CJ in the chat. It is nice to see you. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to do this stream. I just want to do like a little like pop in and let's celebrate the Rippaverse Day. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to be doing anything too special, because there's just like a very consistent release schedule that they have. And they did do like a loyalty sale a bit beforehand. That's how I got the short box. I got it, cheaper because of that, which was nice. So yes, there is that. Like I said, I am just I suppose I am a bit out, which I guess is okay, to a certain extent. Well, let's just move this one here. So there we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah, but there's really nothing on the. Let's see. Basically, the Sasuke saying happy 4th anniversary to the Rippaverse. So yes, these first 4 years, of course, the live action Yaira trailer, which was quite something to behold. It was pretty comic accurate, which I actually do appreciate, because when you read Yaira #1, like, well, why was I thinking it was subplot? But it was Yaira #1, and you just realize how, like, it was actually quite accurate. So I did appreciate Yaira #1. And of course, it's one of my favorite Rippaverse books, but I did appreciate that live action trailer, which was like, that was such a wild ride. So of course you got ISOM 1 making $3.7 million, ISOM number 2 making over $2 million, Alpha Core 1 makes 1.3, and then Yaira makes I think around that amount. We can search it up. We can actually get the we can go through the campaign, or they call it cornerstone, basically. But Yaira ended up making $1.587 million. So absolutely ridiculous amount of money. So you had that, and then, like, I remember I was just at work, and it launches. I'm like, it's a live action trailer. I'm like, and I thought, like, they were making like a full on like movie, and I was like, oh, it's just a live action trailer, but like, it's still like, wow. And of course, like, it's a little campy, because it's an indie company. It was filmed like in one day in Canada. So it wasn't like, oh my god, it's not like Marvel is dead in terms of being, or it's not like the MCU has to compete with the Rippaverse now. I think at some point, if things keep going on this trajectory where they're quite stable, but the comics come first, and it definitely needs to be a pretty established lore before they go off and do. I would prefer if they did a traditionally animated show, or if they launched like the Rippaverse, the RAU, Rippaverse Animated Universe, and they had like, whether it was like ISOM Ill Advised, whether they did like Yaira, whether I think, like, I mean, doing like ISOM Ill Advised, and basically doing like a part 1, part 2, and having like a 3.5 to 4 hour, like, basically movie, whether that's like I said, it probably would just be 2 movies. Like, you'd have Ill Advised Part 1, Ill Advised Part 2, and basically make like 4 hours of movie. And then that's the launching pad for the Rippaverse Animated Universe. And of course, it would follow a very similar continuity to what's in the comics, right? Where I can basically say, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen when, we do, like, let's say, Horseman, like I said, the Horseman show being something that could happen. It's like, when there's a Horseman show, it's like, yeah, I know who Horse is going to meet. I know how, like, I know what happens, when he faces Blitz and Serum, right? That's just an example. Of course, with Alpha 4, like, I know who survives the, Eagle's Nest hijacking, and who doesn't, and so that would be a really cool thing. It's just like, all of those things were like pure like fantasy in terms of when ISO 1 launched, and it just very quickly materialized after that. Of course, ISO number 2 launched with an animated trailer that was quite cool. And then, you have the establishment of Rippaverse Studios, and it's like, everybody just wants, like, we want Rippaverse games, and they're talking about that, like what type of Rippaverse game that you would want. And I've said it before, if you could make like, because the thing is that you can search this up. I keep using Avatar. It's just like I was just talking about it, but Avatar. There's an Avatar. I think Legends fighting game. I think that's what it's called, Avatar. But anyways, we got the Steam page here loaded up. So yeah, this is Avatar Legends. This is a fighting game. This will probably be like, I'm not much of a guy for playing fighting games, but this game is it's coming out pretty soon. It's launching. And it's going to be a $30 game, like fair price. And this, by all accounts, other than not having the original voice actors, which I despise that the original cast has gotten snubbed basically in like so much media after like their initial like blitz. But a game like this, where like it's this style, as like a Rippaverse fighting game, I imagine, and it was like technically tight, like it played well. And it played to the strengths of like Rippaverse characters, because like people who made this game, like they are like, it's like made by people who know the source material. And like, we talk about like how we don't like Korra, but even like this like freeze animation, like it's one for like funny scenes at like the beginning of like, I think it's like episode 2, when she sees Lin Beifong, like she basically gets captured by the Republic City police, and then she gets bailed out by Tenzin, and then she basically just like does that at her to be like, it's like screw you, and that's like the freeze animation. All the characters have like a funny freeze animation, and like these can like redirect fighting. Like this is all stuff that like you have to be a fan to know like these sorts of things and actually do this. And if you were to make a Rippaverse fighting game like this, where it had the passion, where it's made by people who read the books, and it was a technically sound and tight game that you could play casually or competitively, I think it would do really well. And it wouldn't be that expensive to make. I mean, it's not like, game development is super cheap, unless like you're one guy and you just do it over the course of like weekends and vacations and stuff like that, like Concerned Ape did with Stardew Valley. But if you want, there's that. But you can get like a team of like a couple of guys to do this. You get a programmer, artist, basically a couple of people, and then make a game like this. Like I said, I think it's going to be low cost, and I think it would do really well. And I say this as like someone, like, I don't play fighting games. Like, fighting games aren't my thing, other than Smash Bros, which people say it's not a fighting game, but whatever. I don't really play fighting games, or I don't play fighting games at all. Basically, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, these have massive legacies. People are fans of these games, so they do well, and they have a niche, and which is why I think it would do really well, and I think they would actually make a good amount of money off of this, off of doing a game like this. And then, like I said, use the bankroll other stuff, where you could definitely do like a side scroll, like a Double Dragon type game. What I'd really love is for like them to make like a Sifu game with Isom or Horseman. But I think with Isom, because he's more of a brawler, Horseman's got like the bats and the guns and everything. And honestly, making like an FPS with Horseman would be really cool. Like doing a basically doing something where you do like a Call of Duty campaign, but you play as Horseman, would be really cool. Because honestly, you really don't need, like, every game doesn't need to be open world, because one, making a massive open world is expensive, and two, I think a lot of people are tired of the open world concept, because it just makes the game longer to play, and you're just doing a lot of traversing, which is like dead time. And very few games actually execute on like traversing an open world in a way that feels really cool. And of course, like Ocarina of Time came out the year I was born, 98. And like back then, like, oh my God, it's so cool to like explore a whole big world. Like when I played Skyrim, like, oh my God, it's so cool that like it's just this massive like environment you can get lost in comparison to like going through corridors and like level to level on Call of Duty, or playing through Halo or something like that, where it's a very confined sort of game, right? And then you have an open world game that's just so much more than that. I think people have gotten tired of like that as a concept, and it's like as long as you have like a linear game with good mechanics and it's fun to play, which you could definitely do for a Horseman game, make it a linear experience where it's like really tight, great writing, all of that. Like you get Dean Cain to voice Horseman, you could do a really, really good experience. And that would be the optimal experience. And you could definitely do a Horseman game that is, like I said, a pretty simplistic FPS. One that doesn't focus on being like super graphically technical. Like you could even go for like a classic, like original Doom style. If you don't want to do, because I honestly, and that would work as well. I play the shit out of that game. And then of course you could do like, it wouldn't make any sense, right? But you could do like a Quake 3D, but it's just a bunch of horsemen running. So basically everyone has like Hector's skill set, and you just basically are playing like Quake. Which, I mean, I remember back when I was like in high school, one kid got like a copy of like Quake, and we would just all load it onto, and of course it just spreads like, we just load it onto computers and we just play Quake in the computer lab. Oh man, those were days. That was a while ago. But anyways, that's to say, like that would be a fun thing to do. Like I said, it wouldn't make any sense canonically because there's only one horseman, right? But to just have like a bunch of people with horseman's moveset playing in like a Quake or like a Quake arena would be really freaking fun. And to do that, package that with a campaign, would be really fun. It's just you going through like linear levels, and it doesn't have to be like as basic as like Quake, Doom, or the old FPS games. But it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be trying to be like Cyberpunk, or like having like ray tracing, or being like as technical, because they can't afford to do that, right? But they definitely can't afford to do a game that's much more simplistic in terms of like the graphics, but still looks good. Like this game still looks really good from what I've seen. And I'm sure it'll do really well because it's actually paying homage to the source material. So like I said, a fighting game, Horseman FPS, I think those would do really well. I mean, you probably could do something like a like a classic RPG, like a turn-based one. I'm not sure how many people would go for that, because turn-based RPGs have like that's a specific niche, and people like action RPGs. Rippa is very passionate about the action RPG and not necessarily wanting to do turn-based. I like turn-based RPGs. I like action RPGs. Like I said, I play all sorts of games, but fighting games are not my thing. But anyways, I know like this is like a really random surprise live stream. So I won't probably ought to have planned this out like beforehand, but I've had a bit of a busy day today. Certainly have. So I definitely want to go and do a proper live stream next week, one where I actually plan and like, put out a post and everything. But I think I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of Braxcast Live. First one in like a while. But definitely want to get back to doing that Friday slot and actually talking with the people who usually do show up. But I am going to leave it here. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and Joker is out.